Hello everyone, and welcome back to Queen Elizabeth, A Day in Her Life. In our last video, we saw how stubborn and loyal the princess remained to her country. Princess Alexandra was really adamant that she would not see the King of Prussia till she was practically forced to by the prince and the queen and the queen's daughters. Princess Alexandra had the charm she needed to convince the queen to let her go to Ireland. The queen didn't want her to go because she was pregnant once again, and it was a good thing she went because the people really loved her more than the prince. Princess Alexandra loved them too, and it was neat to learn more about the personality of the princess and how she stood up to the queen in a respectful way. So let's see what's happening today. The house at Sandringham was being rebuilt, so it was suggested that the prince and princess should spend the winter of 1868 and 69 on a tour of Egypt, traveling by the way of Denmark, Berlin, and Vienna. The months following the Irish visit weren't happy ones for the princess. There were open stories about the prince and his love affairs. Lady Geraldine complained of the troop of fine ladies, and more explicit gossip linked his name with that of the actress Hortense Schneider. The princess was glad to get out of England, and she was happy to take her kids to see their Danish grandparents. Only the baby Princess Victoria, born on the 6th of July, 1868, was left behind. The princess was determined to take her little Princess Louise, who had been named after the Danish grandmother, and was therefore the grandmother's special child. On the 28th of October, the princess wrote to Queen Victoria, begging with her usual tact and courtesy for permission to do so. "I have been wanting to write to you for some time, but I put it off till I had spoken to the doctors and obtained their permission for the children to undertake the journey. I asked Dr. Ferry and M. Paget to write to Sir William Jenner and to give him their opinion about the 3 eldest children. Thank God I can say with a clear conscience that I think our little Louise is now quite strong and healthy enough to undertake the journey with us to Denmark. And Mr. Paget, who has seen her more often than the other doctors this year, and by experience, has observed how well she stands up to the changes of climate, and assured me that it would be good for her health, and thought it would do her no harm. I must say that as I am now convinced that she is strong and well, I do not want to be parted from the little thing, especially as later on we must be separated from them all for so long. I would prefer to give up the trip rather than leave the little darling behind. You will understand this best, my angel mother, and therefore I speak so openly to you. It would affect me in the same way as yourself, dearest mamma, if you had to be parted from your little Beatrice. If the doctors decide that she can undertake the journey, and if she is well at that moment, I would consider it a blessing from heaven for the past hard trial and pain, and I would be grateful to God if we obtain such happiness. I need not tell you, dear mamma, how delighted I am, nearly 5 years to return to my paternal home and to show them our 3 eldest children. Oh, what a joy! But it would break my heart if I could not take the 3 children, and daily I pray to God that nothing should arise which would hinder this long hoped-for happiness. Forgive me, dear mamma, that I have written to you at such length about my joys and anxieties. You are always so kind to me, and understand my thoughts and feelings so well, that I could not omit doing so." Queen Victoria very reluctantly agreed that the 2 boys might go, but she remained adamant on the subject of the little girl. She said it was selfish of the princess to risk the health, maybe even the life of a child, to gratify her own foolish whim. The princess was hurt, and she started crying. The Prince of Wales may not have been a faithful husband, but he was a very loyal one in the sense that he would allow no one, not even his mother, to criticize his wife. The letter which he wrote was calculated to make even Princess Victoria think twice. The prince wrote, "I regret very much that you should still oppose our wishes, but as you throw responsibility entirely on Alex if we take Louise, I naturally share it, and have not the slightest hesitation or fear in doing so. Alex has made herself nearly quite ill with worry about this, but what she felt most are the words with which you have used concerning her. Ever since she has been your daughter-in-law, who has tried to meet your wishes in every way, and you have never said an unkind word to her or of her, you could therefore imagine how hurt and pained she has been by your accusing her of being very selfish and unreasonable, in fact risking her own child's life. None of us are perfect, and she may have her faults, but she certainly is not selfish, and her whole life is wrapped up in her children, and it seems hard that because she wishes, with a natural mother's pride, to take her eldest children with her to her parents' home, every difficulty should be thrown in her way, and enough to mar the journey. And when Vicky and Alex come here nearly every year with their children, and I maintain that ours are quite as strong as theirs, it seems rather inconsistent not to accord to the one what is accorded to the others. When Queen Victoria got the letter, she agreed that the little Princess Louise might go, but she continued to raise objections about the composition of the suite, which was to accompany the Prince and Princess. Oddly enough, Queen Victoria raised no objection to the one name appearing on the list as an extra equerry of Oliver Montague, an officer in the Blues, and the younger son of Lord Sandwich. His brother Edward, a close friend of the prince, wrote after his first meeting with the princess, "I think her as near perfection as mortal can be." Oliver Montague would have echoed that sentiment. As a friend once wrote of him, his devotion to the princess was proof of a loyal friendship, as well as of a romantic and chivalrous devotion to a beautiful woman. Louisa, Lady Antrim, was a young girl who just came out in London society at the time when the friendship between the princess and Oliver Montague was most in evidence. Her considered opinion, written many years later, deserves attention. She stated, "The Princess of Wales floated through the little ballroom world like a vision from fairyland. She went out a great deal, and chief among her cavaliers was Oliver Montague. Her husband by this time was living in a very fast set, indulging in many flirtations. It is surprising that you, and lovely as she was, the princess never gave any real occasion for scandal. I think it must have been due to Oliver Montague's care for her. He shielded her in every way, not least from his own great love, and managed to defeat gossip. Oliver Montague was looked upon with awe by the young as he sauntered into the ballroom, regardless of anything but his beautiful princess, who, as a matter of course, always danced the first after-supper waltz with him. But she remained marvelously circumspect. And if the princess was circumspect, she was also virtuous. There is no doubt that Oliver Montague loved her. Of her own emotions, there is much less evidence, but equally there is no doubt that he was not her lover. She was the Princess of Wales. She had been strictly and religiously brought up, and she was not a character who could easily overstep the conventions. The prince referred to Oliver Montague as one of those wicked boys, and Oliver's own brother complained of the sort of rollicking life he leads in the company of a noisy sporting lot of people. But like the princess, Oliver Montague was religious. The two of them would discuss religion together. It is not altogether surprising that their affair remained a platonic one, but it is very surprising that society should have accepted it as such, and that gossip should have been practically silent on the subject. The Queen herself, though disapproving of Oliver Montague's friendship with her son, never gave the slightest hint that she thought it unwise that he should be so much in company of her daughter-in-law. That's surprising. Such idealistic love affairs were, however, much more common in 19th century England than they are today. The Victorians believed that love could exist quiet, independently of sex, especially if the object of that love was in some way set apart from common humanity by rank or beauty or any other transcendent quality. Although the Prince of Wales and Oliver Montague were oddly cast for the roles of Dante and Beatrice, few or one doubted that their love affair remained on that plane. The presence of this young man, so gay, so devoted, so attentive to her every wish, was to add to the princess's pleasure and the journey which now lay before her. The prince and princess were first to go to Paris, joining their children in Denmark in time for Christmas. This was the princess's first visit to Paris, and it was a most successful one. Queen Victoria had previously vetoed a suggested visit to the Emperor Napoleon. At Compiègne. This time the Emperor and the Empress were all kindness and attention, giving a dinner party and a ball in honor of their guests, at which, in spite of the presence of the beautiful Empress, there was no lady in the room who in appearance came halfway up to the Princess of Wales. "You asked me if I liked Paris," the princess wrote to Princess Louise. "Yes, I was delighted with it and with all I saw, and went about all day long and to a great many shops, which was most amusing. Our visit to Compiègne went off beautifully, and I was much taken with the lovely Empress. Since Princess Louise's love affairs were not going smoothly, her sister-in-law proceeded to give her warm sympathy, combined with some surprisingly sensible advice. My thoughts have been a great deal with you, my sweet Louise, and I have been wondering how things have gone on, and hope they have not been again teasing you, dear, like the last day I saw you, when you looked quite worn and sad. Pray don't let yourself be guided by so many, but better go straight about that kind of thing to your mamma. I am sure she would not thus misunderstand you, and she surely would give you the best advice, and don't ever believe she would think first of herself in such a case as this. Those who tell you that give you the worst advice, and don't either do any good by it but harm. So pray, darling, follow my advice and listen to a sister who, God knows, means well and loves you very much. After a family Christmas spent at Fredericksburg came a tearful parting from the 3 children who were to travel back to England from Hamburg while their parents went on to Berlin. Here the princess met Bismarck for the first time, and here too, not altogether surprisingly, she suffered some rudeness from the Prussian queen. King William, however, admitted to finding her charming. After a journey of 24 hours with a thermometer registering 12 degrees of frost, the princess stepped out of the train at Vienna, looking exquisitely fresh, to be greeted by the Emperor Francis Joseph and a galaxy of princes, archdukes, and ambassadors. The prince and princess weren't expecting this because it was an unofficial visit. They soon discovered how impossible it was for any royal personages to pay an unofficial visit. Court mourning had caused the abandonment of some functions, but even so, formal dinners and parties followed each other in an endless stream. By custom, a visit had to be paid to every member of the imperial family resident in Vienna. At that time, there were 27 archdukes living in or near the city, not to mention smaller fry. This in itself was a considerable undertaking. The princess preferred the skating parties, the ballet performances, a concert at which Johann Strauss conducted his own waltzes, and a tour of the imperial stables housing the 500 horses, which were the special interest of the Empress Elizabeth. On this journey, the princess met for the first time the 2 empresses, Eugenie and Elizabeth, who were her friendly rivals for the palm of beauty. With the intellectual and melancholic Elizabeth, she had very little in common, beyond a love of horses and a feminine taste for beautiful clothes. On one occasion, the empress was heard to remark that of all the European royalties, only the princess and herself really knew how to dress. As far as looks were concerned, only one fault could be found with these 2 beautiful women. Both empress and princess were too thin for 19th century taste. So I will end the video here. And this episode was almost like a soap opera. We had Princess Alexandra hurt by what her mother-in-law told her in a letter regarding her taking her young daughter Louise on a trip abroad. Her husband took up for her, and Queen Victoria allowed her to take the 3 children with them. Then there seemed to be a gossip regarding the prince and his flirtations. Then people noticed the close friendship between Oliver Montague and the princess. No one thought it was anything more because the princess was religious, and also Oliver was too. The prince didn't think much of Oliver, saying he was one of those wicked boys, and he probably didn't like him because he knew that Oliver may have been in love with his wife. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't subscribed, if you could do so, it would help the channel to grow, as well as giving it a thumbs up. It's all a great help. And if you haven't clicked on the notification bell, if you could do that, it lets you know when a video is posted. More importantly, I want to wish everyone a good day, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. Thank you. Bye.